all of you know that recently I was blessed to find the woman that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And it's interesting, it's so interesting that whenever you get in that kind of situation, everything begins to change. The way you look at everything is different. I see nothing but smiles and grins coming across the crowd. Why? Because we touched a chord somewhere deep down off in there. We look at our jobs differently and the time we spent there. Before, we'd stay for overtime. Now, gotta go. It's 5 o'clock. Gotta go. I look at my new son differently. Before I had a son, how I spent my time, where I spent my time, what I did, the decisions I made, the thoughts that I had were differently. And in a matter of weeks, I've noticed that when I look at him, it's in a totally different perspective. I even noticed that the thoughts that I have when I'm away from them come in and go out in a totally different way. It hits you in a point, and I know that all of you have been in this place where you just sit in a quiet room and you just think, and you wonder, and you're pondering, because you realize that if 3 weeks can make such a big difference, you wonder about the rest of your life. And that puts us in a place where we start looking at everything and wondering, like, if such a small but big change can make such big changes, you start looking back on the things that you used to do. I graduated college, got a bachelor's, went back, got a master's, but now when I look at it, it doesn't hold the same value. I appreciate it, but it doesn't hold the same value. Coming out of college, I had a job, it was a phenomenal job, and I've told you guys about it. They paid me all kind of money, sent me around the world, cars, all kinds of anemones. But now that I look back at it, it doesn't hold the same value. I appreciate it, but it doesn't hold the same value. In high school, we won a national championship and a state championship, and if you would have asked me my junior year, that would have been the creme de la creme of all accomplishments that we could do. But now when we look back on it, it doesn't hold the same value. And that brought me to the process of wondering, what is value? In 2004, I had a really interesting year. I was living in UTA, living in Arlington, going to school in UTA, and I was traveling back and forth to Mesquite because I had to commute because I worked at UPS actually. I was a belt suit there. One night I'm headed back to my residence and I'm following a red GT Mustang. We were floating. It was floating, I was floating, we were getting somewhere fast. Mustang swerves to the right and I don't have an opportunity to, so I couldn't check my blind spots. I had to continue going forward. I hit something, the car jolts, almost lose. 2 seconds later, I saw a spark, a flash of light. I look back over my shoulder, can't see anything. Keep going forward. See another one, look back over my shoulder, can't see anything. Next thing I know, I see lights. I turn back, the whole back of my car is on fire. Right on 30, many of you know where it is, where the shoulder opens up very wide. I swerved over there, jumped out of the car, started to run away, and then I did what most of us do in situations of intensity. I immediately started making stupid decisions. For some reason, I decided that the best thing for me to do in that moment was to run back to the car because I had left it running, and I just didn't feel like a car on fire should be running. Like I should get the keys back, just in case. I don't know. I can't bring you the rationale right now, but I know that there was something inside me somewhere off in there that had to be a lick of wisdom. Ran back to the car, got the keys, ran away, and then I became that person. You know that person on the side of the road that everybody drives by but nobody actually stops to help? Those people where you see traffic backing up because you're a couple miles back and you think it's going to be this major wreck, and you get there and you realize that they're just observing what's going on, and you get to see how holy you are. Am I going to pray for the person going through the situation, or am I going to pray for the people that should have been driving normal, right? So in that situation, finally somebody pulls over to help me. It was a semi-truck. I run to the semi-truck and he jumps out and I'm thinking, oh, I've been saved. And he gets out and he says, hola, and he starts speaking. I swear he was speaking in tongues. I found out later it was Spanish. But I couldn't understand a word he was saying. He couldn't understand a word I was saying. I'm trying to get help. Eventually he gives me a fire extinguisher. I run over there, try to put it out, totally fails. Cool breeze hits it, blows back up. Horrible night. And if you had to ask me at that point, what is my most valuable resource, I would have told you that it was my life. But do I place value based on what life has given me? Or am I going to place value on what the truth is? Is my life my most important resource? Is your life your most important resource? Is that what our teacher teaches us? Is that what our instruction manual teaches us? And before we jump too hastily, because when you start asking questions, the initial response from people that are listening to a question is you have things that start to go through your head. You start to process it. So some of you might have had things pop into your head about family. Some of you might have had friends. Some of you might have had this establishment. Some of you might have had, the answers are going to vary as far as the East is from the West. But when I ask myself this question, the first thing that popped in my head is I always am very harsh on myself. I have to make sure that the things that I believe are in alignment with the steps that I take. I will not allow myself to process something as the truth that my life is not manifesting in alignment with.